This is this is a fascinating interview with Carrie Ferrone. Quite a story. I think you guys will love it. Before we begin, please be sure to subscribe to my channel. If you enjoy the interview, like and comment when it's over. Here we go. All right. So I'm here with Carrie. Hi, Carrie.
Hi, Kelly.
How's it
How are
going?
you? It's
I'm
going
great.
good,
I
except for
appreciate
that
you. Oh, go ahead.
elusive half a pound.
Wait, what do you mean?
To hit 60, I need to lose half a pound, and
Oh, God. It's just
my
hanging on. Yeah.
body, the scale, everything is conspiring against me.
It's horrible. It's horrible.
It is.
Well, thank you for taking the time today to come and chat. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I feel like I made
Absolutely.
it.
Yeah, right. So, to start off, what I usually do is just ask people to kind of share their journey, however short or long you want, as far as
Ooh,
your health and what's happened and how you got to where you are today.
yeah. All right. So I'm 42. I have been overweight as long as I can remember. I have an older brother, so I was always the chubby little sister because he was super athletic and fit and all of the things. Um, so the first time I remember being on a diet, I was 12. And it's just been a vicious cycle for all of my life. When I was 19, and I was privileged in that I got diagnosed with PCOS at 19. Most people don't even know they have it. Right. But I was diagnosed because I have the, dramatic, all the cysts all the time, was in the ER, thought my appendix had burst. No, it was a cyst.
Wow. Yeah.
So had to have surgeries to get those removed and got put on metformin when I was 20. Yeah. Had a horrible experience with an endocrinologist who put me on metformin and was on metformin for 22 years and 11 months
Wow.
because as of today, I am no longer on metformin.
That's amazing. That literally just happened, right?
Just happened. The doctor messaged me at 5 o'clock last night that I could stop taking it.
Amazing.
So, that was 1920. When I was 28, I had a massive heart attack and open heart surgery.
Wow.
So that was interesting. It was the Saturday before Halloween. I was at my brother's. I was supposed to be going out. Thought I was having an anxiety attack. I have anxiety disorder. Felt like an anxiety attack.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to go home. Driving home, and I'm like, you know what? I'm supposed to go out tonight. I was 28. I'm supposed to go out tonight. I'm going to go to the hospital so they'll give me an Ativan. They did not give me an Ativan. They gave me lots of heparin, nitroglycerin, and transferred me to another hospital for open heart surgery.
Wow.
They had given me so much heparin to try and thin my blood and do a catheterization that didn't work, that the surgeon who, God works in mysterious ways. The surgeon that was on call was the head of cardiothoracic surgery at that hospital.
Lucky.
So he came in and, talked to my mother and my brother, and my whole family was there at this point, except my one aunt and uncle who had to go watch my brother's kids, but said, I'm going to do everything I can, but it's going to be a really long night. She's had so much heparin. We're definitely not going to be able to stop her from bleeding. It's going to be a really long night. He came into the cardiac ICU and looked at me and said, I'm going to get you through this, but it's going to be hard. Okay. So, I don't know, 3 days later, I woke up in the ICU, had received 7 pints of blood during surgery. It took almost 8 hours, which he's like, triple bypass normally takes me 2 or 3 hours. You were losing so much blood that we just had to keep giving you blood and keep giving you blood before I could do anything.
Right.
So I lost, I don't know, 15 pounds over the week I was in the hospital after surgery. So, like, that's how people are like, what's your highest weight? And there was a very long time that I did not step on a scale. If I was at the doctor's office, I didn't look at the scale. I didn't want to know because I just kept trying and I couldn't do anything. No matter what I did, it didn't move. Or it would move and then it would come back up and it would move and it would come back up. So they said, you lost about 15 pounds while you were in the hospital. So that put me at about 252 at that point. Before the surgery, I was 237 when I came home. Since then, we've.
Hold on. I don't know if you can hear Tugger, but hold on.
I can. Hi, Tug.
Just hang tight. 8:55. All right, hold on. It's the mailman.
Of course it is.
Are we done, sir?
No. Do you see Pearl? Zero.
Yeah. She's like, what ifs? Are we done? You done? You good? Good job. Okay.
So, got out of the hospital, did cardiac rehab, was back to work in 6 weeks. I had walked a 5K the week before. Like, I wasn't unhealthy. I was active. I mean, clearly I was unhealthy, but it never stopped me from doing anything.
Yeah.
Even going back to being a kid, like I was in dance, I did cheerleading, I did all the things. So then over the past 15 years, I have done every diet. I was on Topamax to try and control my appetite. I was on Effexor and just nothing ever worked. I did lose 70 pounds on my own 4.5 years ago. It was super unhealthy. I was doing the WW and in the gym 7 days a week. And then the world shut down. So I couldn't go to WW meetings. I couldn't go to the gym. And honestly, it was probably the best thing that could have happened to me because it made me stop and realize how unhealthy what I was doing really was. At that point, I was diagnosed with diabetes about 2 years before that and have been on a whole host of oral diabetes medications. Got put on Ozempic in June of 2022, right? Yep. And like, this is the part, like, I don't talk about a lot because everybody's like, oh my God, you're a fast responder. And I'm like, I'm actually not. I was a non-responder to 2 different GLP-1s for 2 years. I was on Ozempic for 2 years, and the only response I had was being sick. Now, was it Ozempic? Was it that I didn't know what I know now about my diet and staying away from fatty foods and, all of those things? I don't know. I often wonder and I'm like, maybe I want to try it again. And I said that to my doctor and she's like, no, you're not messing around. This is working. We're not changing anything. So I was on Ozempic for a year. I was on Trulicity for a year. And I was waiting for, it was May of this past year. I was waiting for my prior authorization to come through for Mounjaro, which took a really long time. Especially considering all of the treatment I had already had for diabetes. Like, it should have just been, okay, here you go. It was not. It took over a month. And I stumbled upon you on TikTok. I was just scrolling one morning and you were talking about GLP-1s, and I was like, huh, that's what I've been on. That's what I'm on. And I remember you had, like, you know, your before and after and what you were down at that point. And I'm like, wait, this actually does work? It hasn't worked for me. Is it going to work this time? And I went all in. I watched every live stream I could find. You know, I was fully immersed in the YouTube and TikTok GLP-1 community before I got that first box of Mounjaro, because I just kept saying it's working for all of these people.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to be able to make this work. And I've lost really quickly on Mounjaro. Now, is it the Mounjaro? Is it me? I completely overhauled the way I was eating. Starting actually that day that I watched you on the very first live. I was like, okay, we're going to be ready when we get this medication. And if I can't get it, I lost weight before on my own. I will figure out how to do it again. Not knowing at that point all of the other things that were happening because of my metabolic disorders. So I went and picked up Mounjaro. It was June 20th. I got my A1C checked that day. It was 8.5. I picked up the Mounjaro. I got home and, like, almost took it in my car in the parking lot of Target. Like, that's how I was like, I need this. It needs to work. I drove the 10 minutes home before I took it. And the food noise I never knew I had was gone in 2 hours.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I thought it was normal. I thought everyone just thought about what they were going to eat, when they were going to eat it, and how much they were going to eat every minute of every day.
So Ozempic didn't get rid of it for you.
Ozempic didn't touch it.
So that's a big
Didn't
deal.
touch the food noise, didn't touch my appetite, didn't do. Now, I never got above 0.5. I spent a year bouncing back and forth between 0.25 and 0.5. Trulicity didn't really touch it either, but it did bring my start to bring my A1C down, and then it would go back up because it was in shortage and I would have to keep changing the dosage I was on. As soon as it would start working, I wouldn't be able to get that dose and I'd have to go back down. So that was fun.
Yeah.
But Mounjaro it was like it just completely changed everything. And all of a sudden, I had all of this mental space for everything else in my life. And it was weird because I didn't know that I was missing that mental space.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Like, I have a super intense, high pressure job. Like, I do all of the things normally. And then that noise went away and I was like, wait, I could do all of these other things too. So that was 6 months ago last week. I am down 59.5 pounds from my starting Mounjaro weight. And I
That's amazing.
think 79.5 from my highest weight. I think my highest weight was 260. It might
That
have
was
been higher than
that was
that.
mine. Yeah.
But it's the highest weight I know of.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the highest weight I know I hit. And it's just, opened me up to I was always confident, or I thought I was.
Yeah.
Um, but now I just feel better.
Mhm.
And I really, I've talked about this with other people, and I think I've talked about it with you. I took this opportunity to really take control of all of my health issues. So I started seeing a specialist for my cholesterol in August and got diagnosed with a genetic form of high cholesterol called familial hyperlipidemia, which
Mhm.
is essentially your lipoprotein A is this little ball. So your lipids are this little ball, and then there's a shell around them. And that's the lipoprotein A. And with this familial hypercholesterolemia, you have more and larger of these shells around your lipids, which is part of what causes them to build up in your arteries
Mhm.
because these shells stick together and they can't move. She sent me this woman is amazing, and she's a nurse practitioner. She was one of the first 3,000 nurse practitioners in the United States. She's phenomenal. Like, brings me in and starts showing me presentations, and you know me, so I'm like, wait, how does this work? Soaking up everything. Um, and then she sent me for a full abdominal ultrasound, which I never had before. My gallbladder's awesome. There's no problems there. I know most people are struggling with theirs or don't have one anymore, but I was diagnosed based off of that ultrasound with metabolic associated steatohepatitis, which is a form of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. My liver enzymes have been elevated for over 10 years. And like just nobody ever said anything about it. Okay. That was in August. By November, my liver enzymes were normal,
Wild.
which we
Like
know
3 months?
tirzepatide's being studied for this, right? And
Yes.
I'm like, so do I need to do anything? And they're like, well, no, there isn't really any treatment. It's just lifestyle changes, which you're already doing. And I said, well, if it's just lifestyle changes, then what? Well, you typically don't see any improvement. You continue to have fibrosis. You end up with cirrhosis and go on a liver transplant list. What? Who? But there's no treatment right now. And that's like, I think that's one of the things that has really made me so passionate about GLP-1 medications and access to them
Yeah.
is that it is very likely tirzepatide will be the first treatment for non-alcoholic fatty liver disease
Yeah.
other than go on a diet.
And there's people that die before they ever get a new liver. So it's like,
Right.
if you can turn it around, it opens more livers up for people, the whole thing.
And so, people talk about how do we get access to this medication? The non-alcoholic fatty liver disease indication, when that happens, is going to be such a huge access window because the average cost of a liver transplant is $400,000. I know that because my
Crazy.
best friend's
Yeah.
mom had one 2 years ago.
Yeah. No, the
Uh,
more and more we get it indicated for, but that's a huge one. It's a huge
that's a
one.
huge one, right? Because
Heart,
like obstructive
heart,
sleep apnea, a CPAP is cheap.
yeah, but heart disease too, kidney with dialysis, and I mean,
Mhm.
it's like, come on.
Yeah, yeah.
Can't happen
So,
soon enough.
right now, all of I've taken back control of my health instead of it controlling me.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, speaking of health, like what are some improvements you've seen with A1C? I know you said cholesterol. Well,
yep,
liver's
I've got all
liver's
so
normal. Yeah.
I am a metabolic ticking time bomb without these medications. And that's a direct quote from my doctor.
Mhm.
My A1C from June to November went from 8.5 to 5.9. I
Amazing.
wear a continuous glucose monitor, so that tells me what my estimated A1C is. It says that my estimated A1C is now 5.5.
That's amazing. Under pre-diabetic now.
Yeah. Yeah. Obviously I'll always be diabetic because once you're diabetic, you're diabetic.
Yep.
Um, my my cholesterol numbers are all within normal range, which is wild. Um, Not my lipoprotein little a because nothing treats that. It's wild. There's things being studied to treat it, and I think tirzepatide is one of them that's being looked at right now, but it's just something there's never been treatment for other than early detection and statins.
Yeah.
My liver enzymes are normal. My blood pressure was actually low. They had to reduce one of my heart medications because my blood pressure was so low, I was having dizzy spells. Um, I just feel good,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Like I used to deal with a lot of fatigue. I think I probably have some undiagnosed autoimmune disorder because I have all of the symptoms. Um, but the no joint pain, no real inflammation. The only thing I'm struggling right now with is my cycles, and is it the PCOS? Is it the weight loss? Is it a supplement that I was taking? There's just so many things that could cause that. And I'm 42. It could be, early perimenopause because my mom had a hysterectomy when she was very young, and my one of my aunts stayed on birth control until she was 60.
Wow.
So, I have no idea, like, what the typical age for menopause in my family is, and
Yeah.
plus my dad was adopted, so I don't know anything on that side of my genetics. It's fantastic.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
I'm adopted. I get it.
yeah, exactly.
Yep.
I do have an ancestry DNA test in though, because 'cause I'm like, I
That
need to
that
find
helps.
some things out.
Yeah.
I also have a genetic test from my doctors that's being tested right now to see what genetic markers I have for certain diseases.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I was like, "All right, we're doing this. We're gonna check all of the things. Send me
Yeah.
to all the specialists."
Yep. Might as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So, what are some I don't know, habits you've adopted since starting? Like what are you doing?
So, I am drinking an obscene amount of water. Uh-huh. Um, I've kinda gone all in. I've always been someone that, like, I could eat the same thing every day and it wouldn't bother me.
Same.
So, I have a smoothie every day for breakfast and a protein coffee, and people are like, "Don't you get bored?" No. I have yogurt with fruit and granola every night. It's actually become kind of a ritual on my
On your
lives every
live,
night.
yes.
They're like, "Where's the yogurt?" Like, "All right, let me get the yogurt. Even if I'm not really hungry, I could use the extra protein." And that's the other thing, right, is the protein. I'm eating on average 140 grams of protein a day. Um, and using amino acids. Thank you to Kelly and Dr. Vickery.
Yeah. And I know we're on the same camp there. Eat as much as you can, but
Yeah.
why not get extra? It's
Why
like, why
not get
not?
extra?
Yeah.
Started using creatine every day. I've got my mom on creatine every day now. I'm like, just put a scoop in your iced tea in the morning. It's good
Yep.
for you because there's, yes, the muscle synthesis benefits, but there are neuroprotective benefits. And my mom's 70 years old.
autoimmune too. I mean, like
Yeah.
immunity stuff, all kinds of stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah, pretty amazing.
So we're on the creatine every day, and it was funny because my brother was here the one day, and he said something about creatine, and I was like, "Oh, I have some in the cupboard. I drink it every day." And he's like, "Do you have mom taking it?" And I said, "No, but do you think I should?" He's like, "Why not?" Because she's been on Ozempic. She's
Yeah,
off of it right now, and she did lose a lot of muscle. She wasn't trying to lose weight, she just keeps dropping.
yeah,
Um, so she's off of it right now because her blood sugar was doing some weird things. I have thoughts and opinions about why that started happening, and we're gonna talk to the doctor about putting her on Mounjaro
awesome, awesome.
because her blood sugar is still not stable, even being back on insulin. And just based on my experience with Mounjaro versus Ozempic, I'm like, why don't let's ask them about trying it. The GIP, lowering the amount of GLP-1, there's reasons why it works better.
Yeah, yeah,
And she never got, she was on 1 milligram of Ozempic for over a year. So, like, she never went up to the 2. Her doctor, she's had the same doctor almost my entire life. She was like his first patient. And I'm like, I don't know necessarily that that's a good thing because it feels like he lets her dictate what's going on a little bit. She was a nurse's aide, so she's got a strong, medical background.
yeah.
I'm like, let's try something different. And then it's wild. I think my doctor is watching all of us online because she told me nothing when I started Ozempic, when she switched me to Trulicity, when she switched me to Mounjaro. When I saw her at the beginning of December, she's like, "How's your protein intake? What about your water?" And I'm like, "What?
Either that or she's watching Dr. Tina or something.
What's happening right now?" Because you told I don't know. I wanted to be like, "What do you mean my protein intake?"
Yeah, but that's good.
But
I
I'm
mean, I
like,
love it. I love it. I
"No,
wish
my
more
protein's
people would.
good." And I told
Yeah,
her how much I was eating, and she was like, "Well, you could probably eat a little bit more, but if you're not losing muscle mass, you're
yeah.
good." Which I, do some strength training and
Mhm.
not enough, but I have a
So,
I have a
oh,
bad
go
relationship with exercise that we're
yeah, oh,
working.
me too, but I try to at least lift weights. It's like,
Yeah.
but, you know, um, what just to shift a little bit, what it aside from TikTok, because we all experience it there, um, have you encountered any stigma or misconceptions, when it comes to being on these meds?
A little bit. One of my friends and we were away in October, and she knows I'm on the medication. And she was talking about her sister being on it and, like, had a lot of really negative things to say, and I said, the problem isn't the medication. The problem is your sister is going to a weight loss clinic that is prescribing her medication that she shouldn't be on, she doesn't qualify for."
Yeah,
But, it was all of the standard, the side effects, and I'm like, "No, I've read all the studies. This is the incidence of the side effects. This is what causes them." And the friend of mine is also, overweight. I'm like, "You're at risk for all of these things without these medications."
yeah. Okay.
Mhm. So outside of her, I really haven't, I think it's a weird thing to say. I come from a privileged place of most of my family is overweight. Most of my family has diabetes or is pre-diabetic because if anyone tries to tell you type 2 diabetes isn't genetic, they're lying to you.
My whole family too, yeah.
Right. I'm like, do you know how far I can trace this back?"
Yeah.
So, like half my family is on a GLP-1. So there's certainly no one saying anything there.
Yeah.
Then my work actually covers it not just for diabetes, but our insurance does cover it for weight loss. So I know at least 3 people that I work with that are on Zepbound or Wegovy. And those are just like the people that I'm close enough to know they're on it. I'm sure there's more than that.
Yeah.
Did have a funny ran into somebody that I went to high school with yesterday, and he's like looking at me kind of sideways, like, what did you do? And I was like, what's going on? Like,
Yeah.
I don't even kind of address it.
Yeah.
If somebody asks me about it, I'm always happy to share because listen, if you want to know, maybe it will help you or help somebody else.
Yep. That's how I
Um,
see it.
and I don't let the external noise impact me because I know what it's doing for me.
Yep.
You can think whatever you want.
Yeah.
I can spit back all of the scientific data that proves what you're saying is wrong, or just let you keep talking because you probably aren't going to listen.
Yeah. Right.
It's a fine line. I'm like, are you a real life troll or can I actually educate you?
Yeah, and you never know, they may have someone, even if it's someone that doesn't need the med, what if they're thinking about their
Mhm.
mom
Yeah.
so I'll just tell anyone, but I'll cut it off if they
Mhm.
are
Yeah.
stupid, but
Yeah, I'm not getting into your uneducated opinions, but
no.
I'll
Alri
share the educated information with you
absolutely,
all day
absolutely.
long.
Couple final questions. What is one piece of advice you would give someone considering starting a GLP-1? Or 2, just what would you say? What
I think my one piece of advice is don't get hung up on which one and which is better. Just try it.
Yeah, no.
Whichever one is you have access to and can afford, just try it.
Yeah,
And I don't care if that means it's, you're taking liraglutide daily. Go for it. It could very well work for you.
yep,
I think that's probably my biggest thing, and I say it all the time. I'm like, the only thing I regret is not knowing all of the things I know now
yeah.
when I started Ozempic 2.5 years ago, because I probably would have been, at goal and talking about maintenance a year ago.
Yeah. Now, that does lead me to, because just out of curiosity, because it didn't help with your food noise and all of that, do you think, at least with Mounjaro, that has made it easier? I mean, we all know you still got to work, but
Yeah, I mean, I think it's made it a little bit easier, but I know I've been able to white knuckle through all of that in the past. So, like,
okay.
if I knew all of the things I know now when I started Ozempic, I could have made it work.
Okay. Got it. Yeah. Just curious about that.
Yeah.
So final question, how has being part of a community and support helped you?
I mean, listen, I had no idea what I was doing and struggled for 2 years. So, finding the community has given me the tools and the support system that, like, I know if I'm having a bad day, I can go on live or I can hop into somebody else's live or in a Facebook group, in a Discord, whatever, and there will be people there who get it and might have, a gem of advice
Yep.
that I just haven't thought about. And I
Cool.
say all the time, I go live and talk about what's worked for me
Hmm.
because I don't want anybody else to have the 2 years that I had.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Right on, Carrie. Well, look, thank you, ma'am, for
You're
coming on and
welcome. Thank you for having me.
absolutely. I'm glad people will get to hear your story in full. And we all talk about little bits and pieces, but it's
Yeah,
nice to hear kind of the whole
the
thing.
whole thing.
And for those that want to find out more about Carrie and where to find her on social, everything will be linked below in the description. So be sure to check that out and go follow her in all the places.
I'm all of the places.
All the places. So thank you again, Carrie, and
Thank you.
I'll see you on live.
Uh,
All right, what a great interview that was with Carrie. If you guys enjoyed it, please leave some comments for Carrie and I so we'll know, and be sure to subscribe to the channel. You can find all of Carrie's socials listed below in the description.